Hey guys, so today we're going to go over how to clean your trumpet. This also works for trombone, without the valves obviously, and then it also works for euphonium. I don't recommend doing this cleaning process with a French horn, or you could also do it with a tuba if you have a bathtub big enough. So I'm currently in my bathroom right now, and so you are going to need the following things. Here they are. You are going to need a snake. Some of you have big bristles, others of you might have smaller or bigger bristles, but it kind of looks like this and it's wrapped up like this. So that's a snake. What you'll also need is you'll need a mouthpiece brush. It's about that big. And then you'll also need your valve casing brush, which looks a little bit like this. It might have white bristles instead. And then for afterwards, you'll need your tuning slide grease and valve oil if you have valves. For trombones, you'll need the tuning slide grease for your tuning slide, but then you'll also need your trombone slide lube as well. And then most important, dish soap. You can either use dish soap or hand soap for the water. It doesn't really matter too much. And then you need your instrument. Okay, so first I'm going to go over how to take apart your instrument with all the parts. All the parts need to come out, and make sure you have a towel. I've got one down here on my floor that we can use to take out and put the pieces on. So first I'll take out my mouthpiece and put it down on the table. That'll be cleaned for later. Then what I would say after that is find your main tuning slide. Most of you, it'll be right here. Trombones, it'll be at the top. It'll be at the top. The slide, that's not the slide that moves. So you take that out and then put it on your towel. And then trumpets, what I would do next is I would take out your first and then second and then third valve slide. What you want to do, and same with baritones and euphoniums, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you push down the valve that connects to the slide that you're going to take out. Okay, the reason for this is we get a popping sound if we don't, and the popping sound, it kind of sounds like this. Kind of sounds like that. It's harder to get out if you don't push the button down. So we need to make sure that we push the button down so it doesn't damage the instrument. Okay, so I'm pushing down the first button and taking out the first slide. There it is. Putting it on my paper towel, and then I'll take the second slide right out like that. And then on the back, you've got a third slide. But what I also recommend for you is you take out the screw right here. You have to take out the screw, or otherwise it might not come out. So take that out. Put that in a safe spot so it doesn't roll around and get lost. So I'm going to put that on the table here so it doesn't get lost. And then third slide down, or third valve down, so I can pull out the slide. And there's that. Next, we want to remove the bottom valve caps on the bottom. Again, put these in a safe spot too, because we will clean them, but we also don't want to lose them. Okay, so there's the second. And then there's the third. I'm putting them down on the table. Next, what you want to do is you want to take out the valves. So you just unscrew those and pull them out, just like that. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to put them on my bath towel. 1, 2, and 3. So if you've done all that part for your trumpet and your euphonium or your trombone, you should have just the main parts of the instrument. You should have the bell and the casings of the valves. They kind of look like that. On the inside, nothing in there. And then all the slides are off. Okay? Now, what you want to do is you want to put this whole instrument on your towel right now, and then we'll get to how to set up your bath ready to go. So, next part, I'll bring the camera over here so we can see. I've got, let's see, we can switch this. Guess not. I've got my bathtub right here. What we want to do is we want to turn on the water. Turn on the water, and we want to make sure it's lukewarm. Lukewarm just basically means that it's warm to the touch. So I'm going to start turning on my water so I can feel what temperature it is. Not quite warm yet. Almost there. Almost warm to the touch. I'll turn it up a little bit. A little bit too warm. Okay, that feels warm enough. Then when it feels warm enough, you just plug it so that it'll fill up in your bathtub. Okay. Now we've got that, and it's starting to fill up. The reason you don't want it too warm, let me step back away because it's kind of loud. The reason you don't want the water too warm is because if it's too warm, then the silver or the shiny part of your instrument can actually come off. So you want to make sure that your water is not too warm, but just kind of warm enough so that the water and the soap can get in there and clean it. I recommend not putting in soap right when you start the water filling up in the bathtub, because then it just gets a lot of suds. So we're just gonna hang out for a second until that fills up, and then we'll put in our soap in a little bit. Catch you in a sec. Okay, so we've got our water ready to go. What you want to do is you want to make sure that your water is not too low, but not too high either. You just want it to cover the entire instrument. So first thing that we're going to do, so we don't damage the instrument in the bathtub, we're going to get a towel. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of towel. Maybe not a full-size towel, but maybe a hand towel like this. It's about this big, just to cover the whole instrument on the ground. We don't want it, the instrument scraping the ground when we clean it, because that'll keep it more healthy and then undamaged. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to just put that hand towel right down there and let it sink under the water. Again, I haven't put soap in yet, but that's what we're going to do next. Since I've stopped the water, now we won't get a whole lot of suds, so I'm just going to I'm using Dawn. It doesn't really matter what soap you use, but just dish soap is pretty good and pretty easy. So I just take a little bit of, just kind of get the whole bathtub, get some soapy water in there. I just kind of do little drizzles of it throughout the bathtub. And then that's that. And then just to create a little bit of suds, I'll just kind of rustle up the water with my hand. Okay, then at this moment, what you want to do is you want to grab all your parts of your instrument and actually put them in together. Some people recommend cleaning them all separately, but just to get them all soaked, I just recommend cleaning them all together. It's just easy, and then the water and soap can kind of get into the parts of the instrument. However, I want to caution you that you don't want to put in the valves. You don't want to put in the valves themselves. Those are kind of separate, and they're delicate, and they need to be treated in a different way. So leave the valves on your towel out of the bathtub for now, and then we'll talk about what to do with them next. Okay, so I'm grabbing all my parts of the instrument. You got the full body of the instrument. Just gently put that down there. I've got the water just enough so that it submerges the instrument completely. So euphoniums, you might have to put in a little bit more water, but that's okay. I've got my tuning slide. That's okay. Just put that whole thing in there. And I've got my first valve slide. Put that in there. Second valve slide, put that in there. And third valve slide, put that in there. And what I do right now is just let them kind of sit for a moment so that they're all just kind of getting in the water in there. So, I mean, you can do this for about maybe 15 minutes. Let it soak for about 15 minutes, just kind of in the water itself. So now let's kind of talk about the valves. What we want to do, the important part to know about the valves is that there's different parts. There's this actual valve part that goes and touches the casing, and then there's this, sometimes it's going to be yellow colored, other times it might not be. It might be just another kind of silver. And then above here you have the valve cap, which probably has some felt on it. That's why we don't want to get it wet. We don't want that part to go in water. And if you take that cap part and pull it up, you'll actually see another felt. Okay, you don't want to get that wet either. So I pull those up together, and then just this part here, just this part is the part that you can get wet. Okay, so let's clean our valves first. Let the rest of the instrument kind of sit. So what we need right now is our valve brush. Okay, and we just take the water, we take the valve and we put it only up until this part here in the water, and just kind of swish it around for a little bit. Make sure that you're holding the felt and the valve cap up above with your fingers like this. Okay, so let's clean it. Then what you do is you just take your valve brush and clean in between these holes here. So just getting in between these holes. Each of the holes connects to another hole on the other side of the valve, so it's okay. It'll go straight through. So there should be 3 of them in a valve. So once you've got that, just kind of swish it around again. Get a really good scrub. Do it a couple times, because if you haven't cleaned your instrument for a while, they'll probably be pretty gross. Mine are okay, because I clean my instrument quite often, so it's okay. Okay, so we got the first valve. Once you get that, just shake it out, excess water, shake that out, and put it on your towel outside of your bathtub, and then do the same thing with the next one, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to kind of speed through this a little bit, getting each of the holes. Okay, that was the second. Now we're going for the third, final. So again, cleaning through the bristles through the holes. Make sure that you've got the felts so that they're not touching the water. That's not a good thing. If you put the felts underwater, then then they shrink and then they don't work anymore, and then they have to get replaced, and that can be pretty pricey. Okay, so it hasn't been quite 15 minutes, but I'm just going to speed through this to kind of show you how to clean your instrument. So what you'll need next is you'll need your snake that'll go through your instrument entirely. It looks like this, and it's kind of wrapped up, and you can unwrap it, and it looks long like this. Some of yours might be longer. For trumpet, it's sort of short, but for trombone and euphonium, it's a little bit longer. So basically what we're going to do is I'd start with the slides first. So I'm going to start with my main tuning slide here and put it under the water and just run your snake through. Don't kind of force anything. Just kind of gently push and pull in each part of the slide. I would start, it doesn't really matter where you start, but I would either start here or here. This one should all go through. So it shouldn't matter which way you start, it should go through. Again, be gentle, but kind of push back and push and pull so that you get all the bristles scrubbing against the inside of the instrument there. Okay, so I'll keep doing that for another few seconds. Push and pull. And once you pull it out of the slide, you'll see some interesting dirt, gunk, whatever you've been eating for the past couple of weeks before you play the instrument. Okay, now that I've done the tuning slide, I'm going to take the first slide, do the same thing. Now this one won't go, the actual snake won't go around the whole thing because this opening is too small here. So it will only be able to go through one each side. So that's okay though. Okay, so I've done the first slide. Here's the second slide. This one's pretty easy. It's tiny. Okay, so second slide. Pretty easy. Okay, and then I got my third slide. Again, like the first slide, it'll only go up to here. It won't go around for the snake. So just put it on each side of the tubing. Again, back and forth a couple times. Don't just put it in and then pull it right back out. You want to make sure they get a good clean on all of these. Okay, so we've got that. I just put it back in the water to have it kind of set again. Now that we've done all our slides, now we can do the main body of the instrument. You still need your snake for this, and you'll need your valve casing brush. So what we'll do first is we'll take the instrument, hold it kind of under the water, but not touching the ground, or unless you have the towel under it. Okay, so I'll start with my main tuning slide. I'll show you here first. Start with my main tuning slide, and then I'll start with this first and second, and then first and then second, and then turn around to the third. You also want to get this part of the instrument too. And believe it or not, you also want to go through the bell with the snake too. The snake is long enough so that it can get this whole section right here. Okay, so I'll just do that, submerge it again. First I'll do the tuning slide. Okay, again you want to go back and forth. Really scrub out. The tuning slide is going to be usually the nastiest part, because that's where all your air and your whatever you had for breakfast in the morning, that's where it all goes in your instrument. So just kind of be careful with that. Okay, keep scrubbing here. I'm scrubbing this bottom part of the tuning, where the tuning slide would normally go, as far as I can. Push and pull. Okay, now I'm going to the first slide. Kind of back and forth. Again with both sides of the tuning slide. And I move on to the second slide. Back and forth. So I can already see that I've got a little bit of stuff coming out. Since I clean my instrument quite often, I'm not seeing too much, but you know, some of you will see an excess amount of things if you haven't cleaned your instrument for a while. So now I'm going to do a third slide. Push and pull on both sides of the slide. Okay, and lastly I'll put it through the bell and kind of snake it around. Basically, usually you'll use all of your snake, or most of your snake, for this part when you're going through the bell section. So just kind of it might give you a little bit of a hard time going in, but just be gentle. Don't be too tough with it, or else it will get stuck, and then that'll be a whole mess of problems. Okay, just going in gentle, pulling, push and pull. And then you just pull it out at the end, and then get all the water out. Do that a couple times. So you're kind of rinsing it out a little bit, as you would say. Now what we need to do is we need to grab our mouthpiece, our valve casing brush. And now we got to do inside the valve casings here, in this part. That's what this brush is also for. Not only for the valves themselves, but for the casing as well. So put it through one side, give it a couple push and pulls here so that it can get clean inside the valve casing. Okay, do it on both sides, both ends, so that in case you miss the spot, you're fine. Okay, do that a couple times, pull that out, put that aside. Now this part is just kind of up to preference, so if you want to do this, it's fine. I like a relatively shiny instrument, so what I'll do is I'll put some dish soap on the actual outer part of the instrument itself. Obviously, when you're giving it a bath, it'll be fine, and since it has water on it and you've cleaned it, it'll already have kind of a shine. But you know, it's never a bad idea to put some dish soap on the outside of your instrument, on the valve casings, and on the bell, and on the inside of the bell a little bit, not too deep. So I'm going to do that right now. You don't have to. You can skip this part if you want to. It's all up to you. Just make sure that you've got a good hold on your instrument so that it doesn't slip out of your hands. So I'm just going to do a little bit of dish soap on here. A little bit of dish soap goes a long way, so you should be okay. So I've got some dish soap. I'm just kind of rubbing it in with my hands, my fingers. You want to get really good inside this creased part here near the edge of the bell, because that's where some gunk can get kind of stuck in there. So with your hands, just kind of put it on there, all over, and then I go inside the bell, just as far as your hands will go. Don't try anything extreme, just like that. It'll be fine. And then on the other side, on the tuning slide, oops, careful not to bump it like I just did. Okay, now that I've got that whole instrument, then submerge it underwater again. And since dish soap likes to stick to things, you want to make sure that you kind of take off that dish soap under the water with your hands. Okay. Okay, there's your clean instrument finally. Do that a couple times, dunk it a couple times, the body of your instrument. Make sure when you're doing this that you turn it around, because there could be water stuck in spots that you don't know, and then when you take it out of the bathtub, you get a shower out of the bathtub. So just be careful when you take it out. Kind of turn it around. Maybe with a firm grip, shake it out just a little bit to get the excess water. Then what I do is I put it on the towel outside of the bathtub and just lay it out flat. And I take out all the parts. You can also do the dish soap with these parts as well. It's not necessarily required. It doesn't really matter to me if you do it. If you like your instrument even more shiny, then go for it. But you know, if it really doesn't matter to you, not a problem. Okay, so I'm going to take all these slides out. Make sure that all the water's out of them. Shake them out a little bit. Put them on your towel. Okay, and last but not least, the tuning slide. We take the tuning slide out. Make sure that this is completely empty of water. Shake that out a little bit. Okay, and then we've got all our water in here. We've got our dirty water in here. So now what you want to do is you want to obviously empty out the water, and then I can show you how to clean your mouthpiece in the sink, in your bathroom sink, not in your tub. So what you want to do, this is entirely disgusting water. So what you want to do is you want to empty it out. But then what you want to do is you want to do your parents a favor. You want to do you a favor and clean out your bathtub. Okay, you want to clean it out. Once all the water's gone, there's going to be kind of a residue where the water was, where the height of the water was, and that's going to be all just gross because of your instrument. So do yourself a favor for cleanliness and your parents a favor and clean your bathtub afterwards. So what I'm going to do by myself, I'm not going to do it in this video, but I'm going to take one of these brushes because it gets all the gross stuff from your instrument off the edges of the bathtub. And then, you know, you can use your heavy-duty soap or cleaner to kind of help you out. You can either use the dish soap, but I would also recommend, I just have this laying around, the Scrubbing Bubbles heavy-duty all-purpose cleaner. So if your parents will probably have some cleaner, and that'll be great. So just use that, and then again, after you've cleaned it, rinse out the bathtub again. You can usually use the shower feature to kind of rinse it all out and get it clean again. And your parents will be very happy, and you will be happy as well, because you will not be taking a shower or a bath in dirty Trumpet or Euphonium or Trombone water. It'll be awesome. Okay? So do that after you've emptied out the water. I'm going to do that right now, but I'm not going to video it. I'm just going to expect that you're going to do it so that you stay clean and healthy, because everybody's getting sick these days. All right, so, and then once I come back with the video, I'll show you how to clean your mouthpiece and put everything back together again. All right, see you soon. Hey everybody, so I just finished cleaning the bathtub. Ooh, shiny, yeah. Here's all my trumpet, all my parts. What you want to do is you want to let that air dry. You can probably tell that I've got the fan going on to kind of help it air dry a little bit. But I would air dry it for at least a couple hours. I usually do it overnight, but it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, whichever one you do, just as long as it gets time to air dry itself. Make sure you wipe off all the excess water with your towel that you got right there. But right now I'm going to show you how to clean your mouthpiece. Okay, so I'm going to bring you over here. So we've got our sink. This is easy to do in the sink. What you'll need is you'll need your mouthpiece. whichever one, euphonium, trombone, tuba, French horn can even do this too. And I've got my mouthpiece brush here. Now what you want to do is you want to turn on the water, make sure it's lukewarm. Lukewarm, warm to the touch. Okay, it's hot, so I'm going to turn it up on the cold water a little bit. Okay, that's about lukewarm. Now what you want to do is you want to first put your mouthpiece under the running water just a little bit so that it can get in there. And then what you want to do is I got some hand soap over here. And so just take a little bit of hand soap and put it right in the cup of the mouthpiece. Kind of swish it around in there. And then what you want to do is you want to take your valve brush, your mouthpiece brush, and put it in the opposite end, right down here. Give it a couple scrubs in and out. Make sure that it does come out the other side. And if you'll notice, hopefully it'll focus there. That's what came out of my mouthpiece. If you don't wash your mouthpiece every week, that's what will come out of your mouthpiece. So you got to make sure that your mouthpiece is clean, okay? So rinse that off, rinse that gunk off, run it through again a couple times. Now what you want to do is you want to run it through and have the mouthpiece under the water at the same time. Okay, run it through a couple times. You can also do it through the other end too. It's not going to hurt. It's just a little bit harder to get in there. Okay, and this is, it's best to clean your mouthpiece once a week, but also you want to clean your mouthpiece after you're sick. If you're sick and you play on a sick mouthpiece and you get better, you're still going to be sick. You're going to have a more likelihood of getting sick, okay? After you've done that a couple times, rinse off that mouthpiece brush, and then what you can do is you can put some hand soap on the outside and kind of get it all nice and shiny and clean on the outside as well. Okay, again, to prevent illness, you've got to keep your stuff clean. Okay, then I rinse that off. There's a lot of suds in the water, but that's okay. Okay, rinse that off. Okay, we're done with that. Just shake off the excess water and then dry that with your towel. Or you can put it with your trumpet to air dry on your towel. Next, I didn't talk about this, but I want to talk about this. We have our valve caps here. Valve caps from our instrument. Okay, and now what we want to do is I like to take an old toothbrush. Don't take your brother or sister's toothbrush. That's not nice. And you want to take an old toothbrush and just kind of rinse these under lukewarm water with soap also. Okay, be very careful when you're doing it in the sink, because they could fall down, and if your drain is big enough in your sink, they could just fall right in. So be very extremely careful. You could also do this in the bathtub as well. Okay, but I'm just going to do it right here in the sink. Okay, so lukewarm water again. Okay, run them under some water first. Okay, then take our hand soap. Place it on there. You can also put the hand soap on the actual toothbrush itself. It doesn't really matter. Okay, be very careful. You can do these one at a time. I think I'm going to do them one at a time so that I don't drop one accidentally. Okay, so I just got some soap on there, cleaning out the insides. It's very important to clean out the insides because these actually can affect your valve. So I got one done. Let me do another one. Some more hand soap on this toothbrush. Okay. Okay, I'm cleaning up the inside. Getting around on the insides of those corners. That's what these bristles are good for. Rinse it off. Okay, that one's good. Let me do the last one. Some more hand soap. Some water on there first. Get in there in those cracks. Crevices in there. Okay, rinse it off. Rinse off the toothbrush. I always keep the same toothbrush around so that I know that that's the trumpet cleaning toothbrush, or euphonium cleaning, or tuba, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that's that. And let those valve caps air dry. And then, like I said, you want your trumpet, euphonium, tuba, trombone, you want that thing to air dry. You want that thing to air dry for about at least 2 hours, okay? So just let it out on your bathroom floor. Tell your brothers and sisters not to go in there and mess with stuff. And then wait a couple hours or wait overnight. And then in the next part of the video, I'll show you how to put everything back together and oil it up and grease all your slides and stuff like that. All right? See you in a couple hours or overnight. Hey everybody, I've just waited about 6 hours for this trumpet to air dry. It's been drying on my towel, all the parts. You can kind of see all the parts hanging out there to air dry. Now we're gonna talk about how to put it back together. So you've got all your parts to your instrument, and you also need some tuning slide grease, and for trombones, your tuning slide lube, valve oil for trumpets and euphoniums, and you'll also need paper towels. That's to wipe off excess grease. Okay, so first we're going to actually take each of the individual slides. Let's just start with the main tuning slide, and we'll take our tuning slide grease, whatever one you got from the music store. What you want to do is you want to take not too much, but a good dose of that out of your tuning slide grease container. Just kind of put it around each of the slides on all parts, okay, on both the slides. Okay, the part that the tuning slide grease goes on for any of these slides is the part that's a little bit more yellow rather than like maybe silver or other parts of your trumpet or euphonium or trombone. Okay, so I've got both of those parts. Then I will put this in one at a time. Here I grab my trumpet. I'm going to put it in one at a time. You want the water key right here. I'm going to put my trumpet down for a second. You want the water key right here on the bottom. So if you were playing your trumpet, the water key would be on this side right down here, because that's the bottom of the trumpet. So I'm going to take the first part of the slide, put it in there. As I'm putting it in there, kind of twist and push to get all the grease around there. Okay, and then once I've got that, I'm going to take that fully out, and I'm going to put the other side in and do the same thing. Twist and push. Twist and push, twist and push. The reason we twist also is to get the grease all in there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in all together. Okay, push it in all the way. Make sure it goes in all the way. Then what you want to do is you want to take a paper towel and wipe off the excess grease. I'm going to take a couple of my paper towels and rip them into smaller parts so that I can use more of the paper towel. You don't need a whole paper towel to wipe off one slide. You just need a little bit of one. So I'm going to wipe off the excess grease that comes, and it kind of, you'll see it kind of accumulate right around here where the slide comes in together. So that should be pretty easy to kind of put together. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do that same process for the first slide. Okay, so the first slide looks like this. Some of you have the saddle, but some of you don't, so that's okay. And then it puts in here. Basically, for this one, you can see it's right here. The silver part, or if you don't have silver, that's okay. The silver will go over the yellow part, and the yellow part will go over the silver here. Or if you have a different color, that's totally fine. So grease each of those parts. Gonna pretty good amount, not too much, because then you'll just have to end up cleaning it up afterwards anyways. So just a good enough amount on both of the yellow parts of the slide. Get it all around there. Don't just get it on one side, get it on multiple sides of the slide. And again, just like we were talking about, do one side first. So I'll kind of do this so that you can see it. I'm putting in the bottom part first, twisting and pushing and pulling, and then do the other side. Let me see if you can see that. You can see it. Okay. And then twist and push, and then put in the whole thing together, and then wipe off any excess grease with your paper towel. You don't want any excess grease lying around, because then it gets, when you hold the trumpet or hold the euphonium or hold the trombone, it's all kind of gross. Again, trombones, this will be different for you because you just have one tuning slide and then a main tuning slide. So bear with me or speed through the video if this doesn't really apply all these parts to you. So I just did my second slide. That one's super easy. You can just put this one in together. What we want to do is when the trumpet is facing like this, we want to make sure that the, I don't know what to call this, the bead itself is pointing outwards towards the front of the trumpet, towards the bell of the trumpet. Okay, and you don't really need to kind of push and pull that one. It usually just kind of goes in there pretty nice. Okay, and then what you want to do is gently, I don't recommend this all the time, but for right now, gently turn it on its back, turn the trumpet on its back, and then take our third slide and do the same thing. Okay, get a good amount of grease, put it all over the slide here, top and bottom. If you need some more, that's totally fine. And then put some on the actual slide of the trumpet because that part needs to be greased as well. Okay, got that done. Then I'll put each of the parts in through its respective spot. So hopefully you can see right here. And just kind of take that and move it around. Okay, and then take the other part and move that one around. See if I can get a good handle on it. There we go. Okay, and then like we said, put them both in together. Okay, and then wipe off any excess grease with our paper towel. And after that one, that should be all the slides you needed to put on your trumpet. So all the slides should be on there. Don't forget to grab your tuning slide lock that goes in the screw area back down here. Don't forget that. We saved that for later. Okay, now we've got the valves. Now here's an important thing about the valves. When you're doing the valves, so that these caps, the caps don't get stuck on here. They can sometimes, but here's a good way, easy way to help them not get stuck. You take just a little bit of the tuning slide grease and put them on the screws here, or on the threads here. Not a whole lot. You don't want a whole lot. That's a big mess, but you want just a little bit, so it kind of creates some lubrication for the screws when you put this on. Okay, so put on those on each of the screws, and then you should be good to go. You also want to make sure that you put them on the bottom threads too, for the valve bottoms. So for right now, before we put the valve bottoms on, we're going to take each of the valves and put them on. And here's how to oil your valves. So we take our valve oil here. It's very important to make sure that you know which valve you're using and which one you have. Okay, so if you look on this yellow part here, most of you will have a number on your valve. This one, it says, it might be backwards for you, I don't know, but it says number 2. So I've got number 2 here. This one says number 3, so I put that next to number 2. And then this one says number 1. Okay, on your trumpet, most trumpets and euphoniums will have actual numbers on the valve casing. So you can see mine right here says number 1 right here. There's no number 2, but we know that the middle one is always going to be number 2. And then the other one says number 3. I don't know if you can see that, but it says number 3 there. So that tells us what valves go in what casings. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my valve that says number 1, and I'm going to oil that one first. What you want to do is you want to use a lot of oil, but you want to make sure that you have maybe some type of paper towel under the valve, so all the excess oil drips onto the paper towel and not onto your actual towel or the floor, because that's can be a little bit of slick work. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'll show you how to do this. We only want to oil the gray part down here. We don't need to worry about oiling inside the holes. We just want to oil the gray part. So I start up at the top, kind of move this valve around. Notice how it's dripping off. That's okay. That's totally fine. It shows that we're giving the valve a good dose of oil. Okay? So you can give that a good dose of oil. That's good. Now take your trumpet and you want to, again, put it in the right casing. So here's the first valve casing. When you put it in, this is very important. When you put it in, you want to make sure that the number on the valve itself is facing towards where the mouthpiece would go. So that for me, that's this, and the number's right here, and it's facing towards the mouthpiece. That is the right place for the valve to go. Okay, give it a little twist. It should lock into place so that it doesn't twist anymore. Then you give that valve case valve top a good turn, and then what you want to do is just move the valve so that you're working it in, and then repeat the process for each of the valves. So I'm going to do this fairly quickly, hopefully, but give you a good idea of how to oil the valves correctly. Okay, I just turn it around, oil it. Okay, I'm good. Now remember, number facing the mouthpiece, and I'm going to put it in. Put it in, give it a twist, it clicked. Usually you know it's done twisting when it gives you a click. And then you want to test that one, make sure that's working, that's great, and then test them both. And then last one. Give it a turn, oil, lots of oil. Okay, again, number facing towards the mouthpiece, where the mouthpiece would normally go. Give it a click, it's clicked here, and turn the cap, and then try them all at once, and they should be really nice and well oiled, but also really clean and free to move. Now, valve casings on the bottom, valve bottoms, we want to do the same thing like we did earlier with our slide grease. Okay, so take a little bit of slide grease on the threads, and just put a little bit. I just like to kind of run my finger along the edge of the threads, just like this, so that way it gets at least a little bit of grease. A little bit of grease goes just a long way. Whoops, I dropped that there. And then the valve bottoms don't have a number on them, so any of the valve bottoms can go with any valve casing. Okay, so don't worry about that much. Okay, give it a little twist, kind of go back and forth a little bit. Grab the next one, give that a little twist, back and forth, and then last one, give that casing a little twist, back and forth. If you're forcing the threads into place, that's probably not a good thing. You want to make sure that the threads are easy to go on. They go on easy. So sometimes if you're having trouble getting the threads to go on smooth, you don't want to try too hard, otherwise you can actually ruin the threads on here. And then that's a whole nother mess of stuff that you have to take care of later. So make sure that it's an easy process for you. And that's the whole trumpet together. And then you got your mouthpiece here, and we're done. If you have any questions, let me know or send me an email. I'd be happy to answer your questions and talk to you about any other cleaning stuff. We will see you later. Thanks.